want to thank Soumya Ghosh for joining us with the MNP. Give you a little bit of background here. Soumya is a distinguished technology professional with over 2 decades of experience working with small and large organizations in both the public and private sector. As the director and leader of MNP's digital advisory team based out of, as you heard earlier, out of the great city of Calgary, Soumya is dedicated to providing expert organizational technology assessments, formulating effective strategies and building strong teams to facilitate digital transformation. And with all our labor challenges, it's probably not a bad time to think about how we do work and the work that we do on a digital basis. So I'm going to turn things over to you. That's going to wrap up my side. I'm going to stop sharing, bring you in on the main screen, and Soumya, I'm going to turn things over to you.
Thanks a lot, Dan.
Oh, before we get that, just to let folks know, if you haven't participated, we are tracking online. Any questions that you might have, use the Q&A function. If it comes up, do it at any time. I'll be monitoring as they go along, and we'll have some time at the end of this presentation to get into a bit more of a conversation.
Indeed.
Thanks, Soumya.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Dan. I'll quickly share my screen. Perfect. Well, so welcome everyone, and thanks Dan for the opportunity. So today we are going to talk about the Canada Digital Adoption Program, or CDAP, as we call it. The program was announced last year, so March of 2022, and it's been running for quite some time by the federal government to really enable small, medium enterprises leverage digital technology to grow their business. So that's kind of the intent or the purpose of the program. And when I use the word digital or technology, the definition is pretty broad. So the good part of this program is that there is the program is not limited to certain aspects of technology or certain aspects of your business. Is pretty broad and open. So as I'm going through the information, just keep that in mind, that there's probably any software, hardware, equipments, things that you can think of that will help you grow your business and has a technology component to it. It's highly probable that will be covered by this program. Okay, so with that context, I'll move on to my next slide. So before I jump into the program, for those of you who may primarily know of MNP as a tax audit accounting kind of a firm, just wanted to give a quick overview of our digital practice. So MNP Digital is the technology advisory arm of MNP, and we have over 500 people in all aspects of digital. So we I'm the lead out of Calgary, and I belong to that digital advisory group, where we build like strategies and help you identifying solutions, build architectures and things like that. So more on the broad implementation of technology and looking at how technology can help grow your business, be it like reaching out to more customers or making your operations more efficient. But in addition to that, we also have specialized team working on applied data and analytics, from building dashboards to creating advanced artificial intelligence or machine learning models and things like that. We have an application development team which primarily works on customer journey, website, mobile applications, digitizing any paper-based processes, as well as your e-commerce point of sale solution implementation. Digital platforms team, who works primarily on customer relationship management solution implementation, as well as enterprise resource planning solution implementations. As MNP as a partner with other we have partnered with other software vendors such as like Sage Intacct, Acumatica, and Microsoft Business Central. Those are the ERPs that we implement. However, we have partnerships with other software solution vendors as well, either direct or indirect. And then we also have a big presence on cybersecurity and privacy, cloud services, so migrating to cloud, as well as managed IT or outsourced IT services. The reason I wanted to kind of put this in the front, because oftentimes when I talk about the program and I'm talking about digital transformation, people on the other end is things like, how can an accounting firm help me with technology transformation? So I just wanted to give you a good overview of our capabilities within this particular space. Um, in terms of the digital transformation focus areas, I'll talk about a few about the numbers that we are seeing. So, we have been working on digital transformation strategy for over a decade now. CDAP is something that came up last year, and obviously, really aligns with the customer base or the client base that we have. I've had probably a conversation with over like 1,000 clients in the last year. Talking about different challenges or problems they're having, different industry, different digital maturity, different kind of problems that we have worked on. And based on all those conversations and the surveys that we have done and some of the information we have gathered in this last 1 year, four themes, really kind of broad themes, I would say, like pretty broad themes, is something that we heard quite often. So the first one is integrating system to reduce redundancies. So a lot of our customers, it's not that they have not invested in technology. Okay, so they have been doing it for quite a few years. Even if it's a company that has been established for a very long time, or if it's a new company, there has investments in technology has happened. But what they realized especially in the small medium space, is that they never really took a step back to look at their holistic organization and identify this technology. They had a need, went ahead and purchased or implemented that technology. And as a result, they are in this space where they have very many technologies, like multiple technologies, managing some of their operations, to their back office, to how they engage their customers, but they do not talk to each other. And as such, the value proposition of implementing those technology has not been realized by the organization. So they're coming and saying, hey, we have invested in technology, we have all these tools, but I don't think we're using them the way we should, or that they're not talking to each other, they're not integrating. My operations doesn't know what's happening in the finance, or where are we getting our customers from. And so, yeah, we're looking at, the holistic view of that organization, the different integrations, or the different way of optimizing that technology landscape for clients. The second one, improving back office. As an accounting firm, we do get a lot of requests from clients where typically we hear two things in this space. And it's either, hey, we have an accounting system, it's outdated, it's no longer supported, we would like to move forward to a new accounting or an enterprise resource planning solution. Can you help us identify the best option for us? And this program is a great fit for that particular purpose. So or we also hear that, hey, we have outgrown our financial accounting system and we are looking into more enterprise level financial or accounting system, or enterprise resource planning system. Can you help us identify those? So we have multiple of these engagements going on. And again, some are industry specific, some are more generic that can be applied to any industries. Operational efficiency is also something that we have heard a lot, and it is a wide, nice spectrum when I use the term operational efficiency. So I have seen a combination of simple paper-based processes, and the clients saying like, I have a lot of paper on my desk. Can we automate using some of the latest and greatest tool or digital tool that's available? Can we digitize our paper-based manual processes? The best thing these days is that with the advancement in technology, automating paper-based processes, reading documents automatically, making some decisions that are rule-based, is pretty accessible. It's not as expensive as it used to be. So we have seen a huge return on investment. As Dan mentioned, like labor shortage, like we do not have people, we cannot find people to process our invoices or do billings. So very efficient solutions, reliable solutions that we have looked at to automate those processes. And on the other side of the spectrum around operational efficiency, we have looked at very specific industry related solutions like manufacturing resource planning or materials resource planning or MRP solutions and others to automate a lot of the operational processes, field services, and all those kind of things. And then last but not the least, improving the employee and customer experience. So here is where we heard a lot from, different pockets, different kind of industry segment, is that we are not able to find or retain employees. Can we, how can we attract new employees and can retain them? So how can we improve the overall experience for our employees? Or on the other side, how can we reach out to more customers? So, build a larger pipeline and things like that. So in the last year or so, specifically with so many projects going on, with so many conversations, these are the 4 themes that I have noticed come pretty frequently or often. So I just wanted to put this in front of you to say that, when we talk about digital transformation, if I break it down, these are some of the specific examples or areas that we hear often. Now, I do have a slide later on which kind of breaks down these areas into further details, and but this is kind of a starting point as to where digital transformation can help, which areas digital transformation can help you improve. So now coming to the purpose of this call of explaining the CDAP program, right? So the CDAP program, or as I mentioned, the Canada Digital Adoption Program, has 2 components to it, and there is an eligibility criteria. The eligibility criteria is as listed here. Okay, so you have to be incorporated federally, provincially, or be a Canadian resident sole proprietor for profit business, have between 1 and 499 full-time employees, and a revenue of between $500,000 and $100 million. Okay, as long as your organization satisfies this criteria, you will for sure get the grant. Okay, so of the 15,000. So the CDAP program itself has 2 components. As long as you satisfy it, there is a $15,000 grant followed by up to $100,000 of interest-free loan. So that's kind of how the program is structured. The $15,000 grant covers the 90% of the expenses for you to engage a government-approved advisor like MNP Digital to come in, assess your organization, identify gaps, challenges, opportunities, and then provide you with options and recommendations, builds a timeline, implementation timeline, identifies the investments that's needed to make those changes. So essentially, the entire plan is what we will be funded through this $15,000 grant. Okay, now, as I mentioned, the $15,000 covers 90% of the expenses. So there's always a 10% out-of-pocket expense from your side. So that's kind of how it's structured. So you take the grant, engage an approved advisor, and create a plan. Once you have the plan in place, then you'll be able to apply for an interest-free loan with the Business Development Bank of Canada to implement the initiatives or activities identified in the plan. Okay, so the loan is interest-free for up to 6 years. The first year, you do not have to pay back anything. It's purely to implement the adoption plan, and then from year 2 to year 6, you will be paying it off equal monthly installments, but still interest-free. Okay, so that's kind of how it's structured. Grant to create a plan, followed by an interest-free loan to implement the plan. The loan will cover your cost of not just buying the technology, but the actual cost of implementing the technology. What I mean by that is, obviously you can pay to buy a software, to pay a consultant contractor to implement the solution, but you can, and not only that, you can also use the loan to pay for your internal staff hours being used towards the implementation of the project. Okay, as well as ongoing software subscriptions and things like that. So the loan is pretty flexible, and for the loan, you do not have to go through any approved advisor or anything like that. You can choose to do it or do the implementation in-house, hire another vendor, solution provider, consultant, or contractors. So that's kind of how the program is. So we have a grant and a loan, and once you go take the grant, have a plan, there is also an option to take hire someone and get a wage subsidy for $7,300 to implement the program. So that's kind of the benefit of going through this overall program. Okay, Dan, any question on this slide from the other side?
No questions yet,
Okay.
but if people at any time, if you have a question that
Yeah.
arises, just use the Q&A function. I'll monitor that as we go forward. Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you. Okay, so as I mentioned, I have some of the target business capabilities that our clients have leveraged this grant to improve. So the way we're looking at it is that how organizations are reaching out to more customers, and there we have looked at ways to automate the sales function itself. A lot around digital marketing. That's both the strategy and the implementation. Identifying and implementing our client relationship management solutions, your just digital presence, which is websites and things like that, e-commerce, point of sales. And again, the purpose of this slide is not to say these are the only things you could do with this grant. It's to give you a sense of the wide or the broad scope you can use this grant for. Okay. On the operations side, we have worked with both product and service delivery companies on our organizations across different industry verticals. And as I was mentioning, we have worked a lot around the process automation side with manual processes automation or processes with high volume where you need a lot of labor to kind of do the work, and then field services as well as when applicable. On the back office side, finance, accounting, supply chain management, human resources are the three aspects that we have seen pretty often. And again, a different kind of problems that we have solved in those space. And then on the digital foundations, we have seen that primarily for organizations that are a little larger in size. So remember the criteria for CDAP is $500,000 to $100 million, right? So $35 million and above, we are seeing some complexity in the technology infrastructure environment as well. And we have looked into data management, content management, cybersecurity, IT support, system integrations, and IT infrastructure related opportunities as well. Okay, so again, this is just to give you a snapshot of, to get your wheels turning, essentially, to say where you can use or leverage this program and areas in your business that you could potentially improve. In terms of where we can help, now we can obviously help you through, assess the grant eligibility assessment to determine whether you're eligible or not. And we are also providing grant application support. The one thing that you have to just make a note is that MNP or a digital advisor can take care of a lot of the aspects of this overall journey, and we'll look at the journey in the next step. Is the application for the grant is something that we will not be able to do on your behalf, just because the expectation is that the owner or the director of the business is applying for the grant. So we still have a lot of support available to you. We are able to do screen share and whatnot to help you through the process, but it's not something we'll be able to do on your behalf. So yes, we are providing a lot of the grant application supports, and then the needs assessment. You're understanding your unique business needs, challenges, opportunities is part of this needs assessment, and is part of the work that we'll be doing for you in creating that digital adoption plan, reviewing solution options, getting back to you with our options and recommendations, and finally building the strategy and the roadmap is the project work that we'll be doing for you as part of this program. Now, in terms of the overall journey, so the digital adoption plan, as you can see here, remember the $15,000 grant with the 10% out-of-pocket expense from your end, will take you all the way from here till this particular spot. Okay, so we'll look at your as part of the overall journey and the process, we'll look at your business context, challenges, opportunities, your focus areas for improvements or opportunities, the future state that you have in mind, what you'd like to change, what are some of your requirements are, the recommended solutions. And when we give you the recommended solution in this particular approach, we will not just give you with one solution. So for example, if a focus area is your financial accounting system, we will not just come back to you and say, this is the only tool that you can implement. We'll give you a minimum of 3 options to consider. option A, different price point, different value proposition, different risk associated with it versus option 2 and option 3. So you'll have a good understanding of what your options are, and then we'll be able to make a more informed decision on the path forward. We'll also do a cost benefit analysis for each options, and then we'll build the overall timeline and investment needed to make those changes. Okay, now all of these aspects will be part of this digital adoption plan, and that's what the plan will contain. One thing I'll mention is that you may have come across strategies or planning documents on the technology side or on the business side. Sometimes they tend to get a little bit fluffy. In this particular case, because the document itself is acting as an input to a loan application process, it's pretty detailed and thorough, and as well as the outline is provided by the government. So it's a pretty detailed document that you'll be getting as part of this this overall process. Now, once you have the document in place, then you'll go to BDC, or the Business Development Bank of Canada, apply for the loan, receive the loan, depending on your revenue threshold. So the loan is up to $100,000, but there is a revenue threshold of $5 million. So if your revenue is between $500,000 and $5 million, you get up to $50,000 loan. And if it's between $5 million and $100 million, you get all the way up to the $100,000 loan. Okay. So once you
Yes. Soumya, we did have a question. I just want to be responsive and interactive for those that are joining us. So the one question, a great question, could you get the grant and then not proceed with the loan, or is the expectation so you could get information just with the grant alone?
Yes, indeed, and great question. Yes, and I will agree, confirm that there is no expectation once you take the grant, do the strategy. There is no expectation that you have to implement the strategy, or that you have to take the loan to implement the strategy. Those are optional steps. Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions, Dan?
Well, there's certainly one here. That do you have a slide where they can see the information about the loan and the hiring subsidize?
I can definitely share that information. It was not part of my presentation deck, but I do have an infographics, which I'll share with you, Dan, which kind of lays out every step, all the things that you need to know. Okay. Perfect. Any other questions, Dan?
That's it so far, but feel free to anybody that's on board. And I suspect I saw the folks that registered. Some of you may have already dipped into this, or looked at this, or participated in it, or are aware of CDAP. If you want to share some experiences, you can use the chat or the Q&A function. Thanks, Soumya.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. And it's interesting that with MNP, I'm leading this program nationally. And Okanagan is actually the top region on my national scale of the number of CDAPs that we have been working on or are in the pipeline that will be starting soon.
Excellent. And if it applied to nonprofits, you'd probably have one more, but unfortunately we don't. Well, that was my first question when I first heard about this program.
Yes, indeed. So then you apply with BDC, you receive the loan, you implement the plan, and essentially resulting in business growth. A couple of things, questions that I keep hearing quite often is that once BDC gives you the loan, the expectation is that you'll use the loan to implement the plan and the strategy and the initiatives identified there. But there is, and you have to keep all the invoices and receipts and things like that. But there is no overhead or additional reporting requirement to BDC. Okay, so that's a good thing. So you still have to keep all the documents because the government of Canada will have a right to audit. But by taking the loan, there will not be any overhead from your end to provide regular reporting to BDC. So I get asked that question in a couple times. So I just thought I'll mention that or provide that information. Okay. So that's how the overall journey will look like. There is some flexibility built into the program as well. So as I mentioned, the first step, typically the way we are working with our clients is that we are helping them through the application process. So the first step is to apply for the grant and get the approval. Once you receive the approval, you have 9 months to complete the digital adoption plan. We are depending on how much it will take for the advisor to complete the application, you still have a lot of flexibility built into it. Okay, once once we deliver you the report and our invoices, you upload it on the government website, and within a maximum of 30 days, typically what we are seeing around like 7 to 9, 10 business days, you will receive the $15,000 from the government. And once you do so, the loan application process will get activated, and you will have 6 months to apply for the loan. So again, it's an optional step. I'm just reiterating that, but you'll have 6 months to apply for the loan. So there is around 15 months of flexibility built into this, building the strategy or the plan, and then applying for the loan. And then you have 1 year to do the implementation. Although that can vary, depending on the timeline and things like that. Okay. I have a couple of case studies, and I'll quickly go through these, and I'll end for the Q&A session. So I have taken the name of the company out, but essentially, oil services company who that we evaluated. The problem they were having was around their enterprise resource planning solutions being outdated and not supported anymore. They were in a server-based environment, wasn't sure, and they were looking obviously to move to more of a subscription-based cloud solutions, but they weren't sure which path to take. So we came in, we did an assessment of their organization on the way they are using their existing technology. What are some of the gaps? What are the pain points? The challenges with integrations, or how their processes are working? And then we did a future set visioning workshop to understand all the different business needs or the requirements. And with that information, we did our assessment and analysis and got back to them with 3 options. And they went through the process of applying for the loan and are doing the implementation right now. One thing I'll mention is that, remember when we talked about MNP digitals and our service lines, we said that we do advisory work as well as we do some implementation. I just want to clarify that when we are giving the recommendations or the options, that independent or agnostic of what we implement. So in this particular client, the recommendations, we gave them 3 options for sure, but our recommendation or the way the path forward for the client was a solution that's supported or implemented by someone else and not by MNP. In that case, we did make that connection so that the client has a good experience in moving forward with that implementation. So that's one example. The next one is another construction company. Again, they were growing pretty fast, and didn't have the necessary technologies, like when I say technologies, in this case software, to manage their entire organizations. Okay, they has like a very small accounting system, no ERP at all, and they were really looking at integrating their back office to their operations, to their customers that they're interacting with. And so we went through a very similar process, but looked at took this company from a maturity of probably 2 to created the plan to take them from 2 all the way to 4. So for this particular organization, it was a pretty broad assessment of all different aspects of their business and how technology in general can help them connect all those aspects or integrate all those aspects as they grow their business in the future. And then the last one is as a renewable energy company. So this is more of like, in the scale up phase. So not really a big company quite yet, but their challenges were getting the information to make strategic decisions. So that was one, as well as attracting resources to do the work. So with this company, we looked at as well as like your attracting clients and customers. So we looked at how to engage employees, or how to attract, retain employees, how to reach out to more customers, and how to have better systems and better data to make more strategic decisions for the future. So just thought of going through some of the sample examples that we have worked on in the past few months or so. In terms of the other company that we looked at, it's a different take now. So it's a software as a service company, and they are growing at a very rapid pace, and they have a lot of technologies that, and obviously it's a software as a service company. That's what they do. They have a lot of technology in place, but they do not talk to each other. As such, when the owner is going and asking for more funding, be it from a bank, from a venture capitalist, or investors, he was unable to show the reports, the information, or the data that they were asking for. So in this case, we looked at how to integrate or optimize or rationalize, I think that's the right word, to rationalize these 5 or 6 systems that they had. They didn't actually need 5 or 6 systems, and look at them and rationalize to say, hey, you know what, you really need 2, and this is how they will integrate. Let's implement it. And this implementation is something we did for them to then integrate all this information to deliver to capture and generate reports that will actually help you to secure more funds from investors, banks, and VCs. Okay. So that's kind of some of the examples. We have a lot of other examples with in Kelowna as well. We just didn't receive the approval on time to share some of those details, but a lot of wineries and some really unique business in that in that region. And if you have any questions or specific questions about, is my industry, what can you do for it, what use cases you have, I'll be happy to share those. In terms of getting started, if you have any questions or concerns, we have a website, so if you do a Google search, you will be able to find it, so you just do not have to make a note of it. But in terms of sending us an email, you can always send us an email at cdapsupport@mnp.ca. It's me and my team who is kind of behind the scenes with this for this email support, so it will come to me directly. So if you have any questions regarding the eligibility, the process, or if you want to talk to us and have a conversation, feel free to send out an email. We'll schedule the meeting. We'll walk you through the program. We will help you with the application process if needed, and then we'll get started with the actual project. Okay, so that's kind of what I have for the presentation. Dan, any questions from your end?
Yeah, well, I've got a few and that we had and submitted in advance, and then a couple have come in here. So I'll jump to those quickly here. There's one, and those that are tuning in, if I don't get this question exactly right, just add another one or clarify. For step 1 through 3, who in the company is typically involved in providing input into the digital adoption plan? That's one of the questions that came in online.
That's great. So so for step 1 to 3, we have seen a lot of varieties. So on some companies, which are, it's the criteria is from $500,000 to 100 million, right? So when it's like $1-2 million company, I'm probably talking to the owner directly, and the owner knows everything, and we are having this conversation primarily with the owner. Now at this $30 to $60 million or $100 million companies, we are talking to the COOs and the CFOs and the CIOs, and to be honest, we are open we do not have any constraint per se, and we will work with you to identify those stakeholders who should be there during the interview process or the visioning exercise, or providing us with the detailed requirements. So it depends based on the size and the scope of the organization.
Another question, this is a federal program, and this question comes in: if we're confident in what we want to use the grant money for and how to implement it, are they required under this to come to MNP, or are there other advisors out there? That's the question.
Yes, so there are other advisors, but the couple of things I'll confirm there. So the grant money can only be used to create the plan. It's the loan that you can use to implement the solutions that you have identified. And to that point, the grant funding and the planning is a prerequisite to get access to the loan. Okay, so yeah, so if your plan is to get to the loan to do the implementation, then you have to go through the process of taking the grant and creating the plan. And you can use any digital advisor. MNP is not the only one. Yeah.
So are you, in the case sample of Soumya that you had there, some level of sophistication and conscious, you can't share confidential or information that you haven't pre-cleared. So I appreciate the reference to wineries in the Okanagan, but size and scope, there's so many small and micro businesses in the Okanagan. Could you give me an example of a really small company that took advantage of this opportunity with the grant and then potential loan? Generally?
So they are all they have to be all about that $500,000 in revenue, right? So that's there. But I have worked with like restaurants to barber shops to small boutique like stores with that sells clothes and whatnot. So from that level all the way to your oil field services and constructions and large scale farms or agribusiness. Yeah.
So just to build on that, I mean, you live in this world on the technology side, but in doing this work with some of the clients that have worked through CDAP, any surprises that how people have come up with a plan that have had kind of a unique approach to digital adoption of their business plan that comes to mind?
Yes, indeed. And to be honest, like, and again, depends. So for example, most of the larger companies, it's pretty standard offering in the sense like, hey, ERP, CRM, and things like that. So we are talking about using a technology to help automate some of their business processes. But on the lower end of the spectrum, or just some companies are innovative by that matter. The barber shop and others, just taking that as an example, actually thought of using this grant to create a new business model altogether. So he's definitely in a barbershop mix, the revenue is more than $500,000, so it's a pretty big business, but he really wanted to give back to the community with training and all those kind of things. And his idea was, how can I use technology like virtual reality and things like that to teach people from a remote location how to get trained. So that's some of the aspects that we have looked at.
We have a question online, and I have a question somewhat related to it around time frame, but I'll come back to that one in a minute of how long this loan and the grant program might be available. But this one was how much the loan amounts. The plan and the grant is there for 15, but is there varying levels of grants? And could you just expand on that?
Yes, so the grant is up to $15,000. So it's up to a $15,000 that covers 90% of the expenses. So for example, if I provide you with an invoice for $16,500, the government pays $15,000. If I invoice you for $10,000, the government pays $9,000. So it's really, the grant is dependent.
The loan?
Yeah, and that grant is dependent on our invoice. The loan is really the only threshold you have is that $5 million, the $5 million of the revenue. So if your revenue is 5 million and below, you can ask all the way between 25 and 50,000, and it's up to you. There is no further breaking down of like, if it's 2 million, you get 30, and 4 million, you get 40,000.
And the timelines, the government obviously has funded this program. Is there a horizon or deadline dates? Really?
No, there is no official deadline for that when this program will end. The program is more driven by the available funds. So the government has allocated $4 billion and are planning to give around 70,000 of these CDAPs, okay, or these grants plus the loan combination. And it's either March of 2025, or if they run out of the money prior to that, that's when it ends.
All right. So we're getting close to the end, and I'm going to make the decision. We're going to try to wrap things up and give the gift. What a great gift! At least 5 minutes back, 10 minutes back, unless there are further questions. This is the last call for anybody that's online, and we've had a pretty good turnout here. The slide deck you'll make available.
Yes.
Soumya? Yeah.
Yes, and I'll provide the infographics as well, which has a bit more details.
Yeah. So anything further that I'll monitor the Q&A button here for a moment, but any final comments that you want to add that we haven't
As
covered?
I mentioned, if you do not see any immediate needs, the loan is here for the next 2 years or so, or sort of the program, assuming that it doesn't run out prior to that. So it's not that you have to jump right onto it. If you think that there is a need 3 months, 6 months down the line, or that all of a sudden you have a growth opportunity, or you purchased a business where and you need to for us to come in and take a look at it as to how to integrate that into your existing operations. If you're worried about cybersecurity related risks, always keep this program at the back of your mind before you make that investment in technology. You can just leverage this program. It's a great way to get some help to fund those technology investments.
Yeah, it was interesting when I was first introduced to this program a while ago, and I know James Grieve, I'm going to give him a little shout out because I chatted with him about it because he's also kind of been out there promoting. And my first question was nonprofits, because it's interesting. I mean, we're a federally incorporated not-for-profit. We would meet all eligibility requirements, but many nonprofits have faced significant challenges. We've got over 100 members of the chamber that are nonprofits. Do you get any sense the government is hearing? I know there's a little bit saying, well, it'd be nice to help the nonprofit sector with something like this that would help, because they're facing some of the same challenges the for-profit sector is facing.
I agree. Yeah, and we have provided that feedback back to the government from our side. We do see a lot of not-for-profit, a lot of grants that comes out for the not-for-profit segment, but nothing as broad and as long as this one. We have seen few comes up that's very for a short period of time, or a very narrow focus, right? So yeah, we have definitely provided that feedback, but no confirmation yet.
So we're chatting with Soumya Ghosh out of the Calgary office, MNP Digital Transformation. Any final comments? Oh, there was one more question to sneak in, so we'll do that one, wrap things up. Oh, sure. So thank you. So thanks, Laura, for the thank you. So I want to thank you. Any final comments just to wrap up?
Thanks, Dan, and the Kelowna Chambers of Commerce for the opportunity, and looking forward to hearing more from your client base in that region.
Excellent. Thanks. We've been listening to Soumya Ghosh out of the Calgary office, and we'll make all the slide deck available to those that have registered for this. If you have any questions, if you didn't catch his email, it'll be in the slide deck, the contact information. Well done. Soumya put it up there on the screen. And if you don't get that and you have further information, just contact the chamber office. We're also easy to find. You can just Google us and you can get in contact. Thanks very much for joining us today, Soumya, and have a great day in Calgary or wherever you are, those that have joined us on